The night was colder than death. Snow fell from a black sky sharp like tiny knives of ice. The colony on the edge of the galaxy was silent, except for the sound of wind screaming between broken walls. Houses had no warmth. Fires had burned out long ago. Even machines built to survive storms had frozen solid. In the middle of this frozen wasteland walked a woman, not a human. Her skin carried a soft blue glow and her eyes were large, shining like moons. She held a small child close to her chest, wrapping thin arms around the girl. The child shook and coughed, her breath weak. The mother whispered softly, "Just a little longer. Stay with me, my star," but she had nothing left to give. Her body was freezing. Her clothes were only torn fabric. The child's skin was turning pale. They would not survive until dawn. At the edge of a trading post, a faint yellow light flickered. Desperate, the mother pushed the door open. The smell of smoke and cheap food filled the air. Inside, alien traders sat around, drinking and laughing, ignoring the storm outside. The woman bowed her head, begging, "Please, just one blanket." "My child is dying," the traders laughed cruelly. "What do you have to pay?" One asked, his face long and covered with scales. "I have nothing," the mother whispered. "Please, one night. Just one blanket." The scaly trader leaned forward, eyes glowing with greed. "Nothing? Then give me the girl. Just one night with me. And you can have a blanket." The mother froze. Her arms tightened around her daughter. Horror filled her eyes, but her lips trembled. She looked at her child. The girl's small chest rose and fell weakly. If she said no, her daughter would freeze before morning. If she said yes, she would lose her forever. Her hands shook. Tears burned her cheeks. She almost opened her mouth to answer, but then a voice cut through the room. Deep, calm, dangerous. "No." The traders turned. At the far corner of the post, a human soldier stood. His face was hidden under a dark hood, but his eyes burned like fire. He had been silent until now, drinking in the shadows. He repeated louder this time. "She said no," the scaly trader hissed. "Stay out of this, human. This is not your business. She has no coin, no food, no worth. The girl is mine if she wants the blanket." The human stepped forward. His boots hit the floor like thunder. "The girl is not yours. The blanket is mine, and I say she will have it." He pulled something from his pack. A heavy blanket, thick and warm, the kind used by soldiers to survive icy worlds. He placed it around the child. The little girl gasped as the warmth wrapped around her and her shaking slowed. The mother stared in shock. Why would you do this?" she whispered. The human did not answer. He only glared at the traders. His silence was more frightening than words. The scaly alien slammed his fist on the table. "You dare insult me? You break the law of trade." But none of the others moved. They looked at the human and then looked away. Everyone knew stories of humans. Warriors who fought without fear, who broke rules when they chose, who could kill with bare hands. The human turned his back to the trader, as if he were nothing more than dust in the wind. He looked at the mother. "Come with me," he said. The mother stepped back. "No, if I go with you, the enforcers will come. It is forbidden to take us in. They will kill you too." The human's jaw tightened. For a long moment he said nothing. The fire in his eyes dimmed, but only for a breath. Then he spoke again. "Better to die with honor than watch a child sold for warmth." The words were heavy, final. The mother felt her chest tighten. For the first time in years, someone was standing between her and cruelty. Someone who asked for nothing. Someone who protected without a price. The traders whispered among themselves. The storm outside grew louder, pounding against the walls as if the world itself wanted to listen. The human lifted the child into his arms. The girl stirred weakly but leaned against him. He walked toward the door. The mother followed, her eyes wide, her heart beating with both fear and hope. As the door opened, icy wind blasted into the room. Snow swirled like ghosts. The human stepped out, holding the child close, and the mother clung to his cloak. Behind them, the traders muttered curses, but none dared follow. The three figures vanished into the storm. Far above in the black sky, the stars burned cold and distant. None of them knew yet, but this night, this single choice would change the fate of more than just one child. It would break the law of the galaxy. It would light a fire no storm could ever put out. The storm howled like a beast outside, but inside the human's small outpost there was silence. Metal walls shook against the wind. The fire crackled low in a corner. The alien mother sat close to the flames, her arms wrapped around her daughter. The child had stopped shaking. Her lips were no longer blue. The blanket the human had given her was thick and warm, covering her like a shield. The mother's eyes never left the man. She watched him with fear and confusion. Humans were not trusted in the galaxy. Stories told that they were wild, violent, and dangerous. Most species kept their distance. Yet here was one saving her when no one else would. Finally, she whispered, "Why did you help us?" The human did not answer right away. He sat on a metal crate, sharpening a knife with slow, steady strokes. Sparks flashed in the firelight. His face was hard, unreadable. After a long silence, he said, "Because it was right." The mother shook her head. "No, you don't understand. By taking us in, you have broken galactic law. The enforcers will come. If they find us here, they will not only kill me, they will kill you too." The human stopped sharpening the blade. His eyes lifted, and for the first time she saw the storm inside them. Fire and sorrow. "Then they will come," he said simply. The word stunned her. No fear, no hesitation, just certainty. The little girl stirred, opening her large, shining eyes. She looked at the man with curiosity. "Are you a soldier?" He nodded once. "Yes." The child tilted her head. "Then why are you kind?" The human blinked. Of all the battles he had fought, of all the enemies he had faced, this small question struck him hardest. He did not answer. Instead, he stood and moved to check the door, making sure the storm covered their tracks. The mother's heart pounded. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust this human. But she had lived too long in fear to trust anyone so quickly. She whispered, "Humans are not supposed to be here. Why are you on this frozen world?" He kept his back to her. "I was sent to watch, to guard the colony, to keep the peace." The mother's voice rose, sharp with bitterness. "Peace? There is no peace. My people starve. My people freeze. And the enforcers, they take everything." The human finally turned. His jaw tightened. "I know." For a moment, their eyes locked. Two broken souls carrying burdens heavier than the storm outside, but then a sound broke the silence. A creak. A whisper. The human froze. He raised his hand, signaling them to stay silent. Slowly, he moved to the window and peered into the darkness. Through the storm, a shadow shifted. A figure moved quickly between the ruins, watching, waiting. Someone had followed them. The human's hand went to his weapon. His voice was low, controlled. "Someone saw us," the mother gasped. Her arms tightened around her daughter. "It's the enforcers. They know." But the human shook his head. "Not yet. Just a scout. Maybe a spy, but they will come." The mother trembled. "Then you must send us away, please. If you are found with us, you will die. I will not let my child be the reason you lose your life." The human stared at her. His expression softened for the first time. "Do you think I saved you just to throw you back to the wolves?" Her lips parted, but no words came. The fire burned lower. The wind screamed louder. The human stepped closer, his voice steady like steel. "You said the enforcers will kill me if they find us." He leaned closer, his eyes fierce. "Let them try." The mother felt a shiver, not from the cold but from the weight of his words. The little girl whispered softly, "I believe him." The mother looked down at her child, then back at the man. She wanted to argue. She wanted to run. But something in her heart told her the girl was right. Still, fear would not leave her. She whispered, "If they come, what will you do?" The human picked up his knife again, sliding it into his belt. Then he lifted his rifle, checking the charge. His movements were calm, practiced, deadly. "What I was trained to do," he said. The mother's breath caught. She realized then, this human was not only willing to protect them, he was ready to fight the galaxy itself if he had to. And yet, a question haunted her. Why? Why risk everything for strangers? For her? For a child not even of his kind? As the night stretched on, the storm outside began to fade. But the storm inside the outpost grew. Every moment of silence felt like waiting for an axe to fall. The human sat again, eyes never closing, ears listening for every sound. The mother lay beside her daughter, watching him in the dim firelight. For the first time in her life, she felt the spark of something dangerous. Not fear, not despair, hope, but hope was fragile. And outside in the dark ruins, the shadow still waited, watching. The mother did not know it yet, but this was only the beginning. The law was coming, and when it did, no one would be safe. The storm ended by morning, but the world outside was still frozen and cruel. White snow covered everything like a shroud, and the sun was only a pale ghost behind thick gray clouds. Inside the small outpost, the fire had burned to embers. The human stood near the door, his weapon ready, eyes fixed on the horizon. He had not slept once through the night. Behind him, the alien mother woke slowly. Her daughter was still asleep in her arms, breathing softly under the soldier's thick blanket. For the first time in days, the child looked peaceful. The mother whispered almost to herself, "She lives." Because of him, but her relief was poisoned by fear. Every heartbeat reminded her of the law. It was forbidden for any species to take in refugees without permission. The galactic enforcers punished such acts with death. No trial, no mercy. And yet this human had done it without hesitation. The mother's hands trembled as she stood. She faced the man, her voice soft but firm. "You should not have kept us here. If they find out, they will destroy you." The human did not turn. His gaze stayed on the empty white fields beyond the window. "If they come, I will be ready." Her voice sharpened, filled with both fear and anger. "Why? Why risk your life for us? You don't know me. You don't know my child. We are nothing to you." Finally, the man looked at her. His eyes were tired, but his voice was steady. "You are not nothing." The words stunned her into silence. Before she could speak again, the child stirred and opened her bright eyes. She looked around, her gaze filled with wonder. The outpost was full of strange machines, tools, weapons, and blinking consoles. She had never seen such things so close before. The little girl whispered, "Mother, where are we?" The mother hesitated, then spoke with a heavy heart. "We are in a human's shelter, a forbidden shelter." The child's eyes widened. She looked at the man. "Then we will be safe?" The human's lips curved into something that was almost a smile, though faint. "For now." The girl smiled back, innocent, unafraid. But her mother's fear only grew. Hours passed. The human prepared food, simple rations from his pack. He placed them before the mother and child without a word. They ate slowly, savoring every bite, though the food was plain and dry. To them it was more precious than gold. As the child ate, her eyes never left the human. "What is your name?" she asked. The man paused, then spoke. "Call me Cain." The girl repeated the name softly, as if testing it. "Cain," the mother frowned. "Why tell us your name? The less we know, the safer it is," but Cain only shrugged. "If the enforcers come, names won't matter." His calmness unsettled her. It was as if death meant nothing to him. Later, as the child rested, the mother approached Cain quietly. Her voice was low, heavy with dread. "You do not understand. My daughter is not like others. If they find her, they will take her. Not just kill her. They will use her." Cain's brow furrowed. "Why? What is special about her?" The mother hesitated. For years she had kept the truth hidden, but something in Cain's voice, when steady, unshaken, pushed her to speak. She was born different. A rare gift in her blood. My people believe she could heal, could change what is broken. That is why the enforcers hunt us. They fear what she could become. Cain stared at her, his jaw tightening. The weight of her words hung heavy in the air. "So the law is not just cruelty, it is fear." The mother nodded. "Yes, and anyone who helps us will pay the same price." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Cain spoke, his voice deep and sure. "Then they will have to go through me first." But outside, danger was already moving. In the distance, beyond the frozen hills, the shadow returned. The same figure from the night before crept through the ruins, leaving no tracks on the snow. A small device glowed in his hand. He was sending a signal, coordinates of the human's outpost. The law was coming. Inside, the mother felt a sudden chill, as if her heart sensed it. She stood quickly, her eyes wide. "We cannot stay here. They will find us." Cain's grip tightened on his rifle. "Then we fight here." "This place is defendable." The mother shook her head. "You do not understand. They will not send one or two. They will send a ship, soldiers, machines. You cannot stand against them alone." Cain's eyes darkened. "I have before." Her breath caught. There was a story behind those words, a story he did not share. Still, she placed a hand on his arm, her voice trembling. "Please, do not throw your life away for us." For a long moment he looked at her hand, at the fear in her eyes. Then he said quietly, It is not my life I'm protecting. It is hers. They both turned to the child. She slept peacefully under the blanket, unaware of the storm that was about to break. The wind outside shifted. The silence of the frozen land was broken by a distant sound. Metal engines humming low, approaching from the clouds. The mother's face went pale. She whispered one word filled with dread. Enforcers. Kane tightened his grip on his weapon. His jaw set like stone. The forbidden shelter had become a battlefield, and the law had finally found them. The sound came first. Low, deep and steady. Engines. The alien mother froze. Her heart hammering in her chest, she rushed to the window, her breath fogging the glass. From the gray clouds above, a ship descended. Black, sharp, and cold, it looked more like a blade than a vessel. Its lights cut through the snow like eyes searching for prey. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "They found us." Kane already knew. He had been waiting for this moment. His rifle was in his hands, loaded, steady. His eyes never left the approaching ship. He stood tall, calm, as if this was not the first time he had faced death. The child stirred under the blanket. She sat up, rubbing her eyes. "Mother, what's happening?" The mother's voice cracked. "Stay quiet, my star." The ship landed in the snow with a heavy thud. Engines roared, then faded. The silence that followed was worse than the sound itself. A ramp opened, steam hissing out. Figures stepped into the snow. Armored soldiers, enforcers. Their suits were black, their visors glowing red. They moved in perfect lines, no hesitation, no mercy. Each carried a weapon that hummed with deadly energy. One of them raised a scanner, pointing it at the ruins. A sharp tone beeped, and the soldier spoke through his helmet. His voice was cold, metallic. "Life signs detected. Shelter ahead." The mother's legs weakened. She almost collapsed. "It's over," she whispered. But Kane stepped forward, his shadow stretching across the small room. His voice was steel. Not yet. The enforcers marched toward the outpost. Their boots crunched in the snow, rhythm like war drums. Inside, Kane pulled a small panel from the wall. Hidden behind it were extra weapons, magazines, and explosives. He placed them on the table, quick and precise. The mother gasped. "You planned for this?" "You knew they would come?" Kane didn't look at her. "The law always comes." He handed her a small device. "If they breach, take your daughter and run through the back tunnel. It will lead you far into the hills. Don't stop." Her hands shook as she held the device. "And you?" He loaded his rifle with a sharp click. "I hold the door." The child clutched her mother's arm, fear in her wide eyes. "He will die." The mother wanted to deny it. She wanted to promise her daughter safety. But her throat tightened, words failing her. Kane crouched, his face close to the girl's. For the first time, his voice softened. "Little star, listen to me. You keep running, you live. That is how you win." Her eyes filled with tears. She nodded slowly. Outside, the enforcers reached the door. One raised a hand, signaling. A device buzzed. The lock of the outpost glowed red and melted. The door burst open. The first enforcer stepped inside, weapon raised. A thunderous shot filled the room. Kane's rifle roared and the soldier fell, armor cracked and smoking. The mother gasped, pulling her daughter back into the shadows. The enforcers responded instantly. Beams of red energy cut through the air, striking walls, shattering metal. The outpost shook. Kane moved like a storm, rolling, firing, striking with brutal precision. His face was calm, but his eyes burned. Each shot found its mark. Each movement was deadly. The mother stared in awe and terror. This was why humans were feared. They were not machines. They were not bound by law. They fought with heart, with rage, with something no other species understood. But there were too many. For every enforcer that fell, 2 more entered, the outpost filled with smoke and sparks. "Kane!" the mother cried out. He shouted back, never stopping his fire. "Run, now!" She pulled her daughter toward the back tunnel. The girl resisted, her eyes locked on Kane. "We can't leave him." Tears burned the mother's eyes. "We must." The tunnel door slid open. Cold wind rushed in. The mother pushed her daughter inside, clutching the device Kane had given her. But just as they were about to leave, a voice boomed through the outpost. "Human soldier Kane, you are charged with breaking galactic law. Surrender now, and your death will be quick. Resist, and we will erase not only you, but the ones you protect." The mother froze. They knew. They had come not just for Kane, but for her daughter. Kane's jaw clenched. His rifle lowered for only a breath. Then he raised it again, firing harder, faster. His voice roared above the chaos. "You'll never touch them!" The child sobbed, reaching toward him. "Kane!" The mother pulled her away, forcing her down the tunnel. The last image burned into the girl's eyes was Kane standing in the firelight, weapon blazing, his shadow tall against the storm of red beams. The tunnel door shut behind them. Darkness swallowed the mother and child as they stumbled into the snow-filled hills. But even in the distance they could hear the echoes of battle, the thunder of guns, the screams of enforcers, and the unyielding defiance of one human. For now, they had escaped, but the law was not finished, and Kane's fight was only beginning. Snow lashed against the hills as the mother stumbled through the tunnel's end, clutching her daughter close. The child's small breaths puffed out like mist in the icy air. Behind them, the sound of battle echoed. Gunfire, metal screams, explosions shaking the ground. The girl's tears froze on her cheeks. She cried out, "We left him! Kane will die!" The mother's heart broke with every word. She wanted to stop, to run back, to fight beside the human. But she knew Kane's command had been final. He had chosen his stand so they could escape. Still, her mind whispered the same question again and again. Why would a human risk everything for us? Inside the outpost, Kane was a storm. His rifle blazed, his knife struck, his fists broke armored visors. Enforcers fell, one after another. But their numbers did not end. Smoke filled the room. Red beams cut across the walls, and Kane's body carried burns and blood. Through the chaos, a voice boomed again, mechanical and cruel. "Human, you cannot win. Surrender. The child belongs to us." Kane spat blood, his teeth bared. "Over my dead body," the enforcers advanced. Kane pressed a detonator on his belt. Small mines hidden in the walls exploded, ripping through their formation. Screams filled the air as armor cracked and bodies fell. But Kane knew this was only a delay. They would not stop. They never stopped. Far away, the mother reached a cave hidden in the snowy cliffs. She pulled her daughter inside, out of the wind. The girl shook violently, both from cold and fear. The mother lit a small fire with trembling hands. The orange glow spread across the cave walls, weak but warm. She wrapped her daughter tighter in the blanket Kane had given. The child looked up, her voice small and breaking. "Why do they want me, Mother? Why do they keep chasing us?" The mother froze. She had avoided this question for years. She had lied, hidden, whispered half-truths. But tonight, after all that had happened, she could no longer keep the secret. She stroked her daughter's hair and whispered, "Because you are not ordinary, my star. You were born with a gift." The girl blinked, confused. "A gift?" The mother nodded slowly. "Yes. When you were born, the healers saw it in your blood. A light that should not exist. You are able to change things. To heal them. Wounds, sickness, even broken machines. They called you a miracle," the child gasped. Her small hand shook. "But why would the enforcers want me if I can heal?" The mother's eyes filled with sorrow. "Because they fear what they cannot control. If others learn of your gift, the galaxy could change. No more sickness, no more dependence on their laws. They would lose power. That is why they hunt you. That is why we hide." The girl's tears spilled over. "Then Kane, he fights for me." The mother held her close, heart aching. "Yes, my love. He fights so you may live, and perhaps so the galaxy may one day be free." Back in the outpost, Kane's strength was fading. His arm bled, his chest burned with pain, but still he fought. He had long ago accepted death. What he could not accept was letting the child fall into the hands of the enforcers. An enforcer captain stepped forward, taller, heavier armored than the rest. His voice boomed, echoing with authority. "Human, your resistance is foolish. Why protect a child not of your kind?" Kane's answer was a growl. "Because no child should be sold for warmth." The captain raised his weapon. A beam of red light struck Kane's shoulder, forcing him to his knees. Pain seared through him, but his grip on the rifle never loosened. The captain stepped closer, towering above him. "You are strong, but strength is nothing before the law." Kane's eyes burned with fire. Then maybe it's time the law was broken. With a roar, he hurled a grenade at the captain's feet. The explosion shook the outpost, sending metal flying. Kane was thrown back, his body slamming against the wall. He coughed blood, vision blurred. Still, he rose. In the cave, the mother felt the ground tremble from the blast. She closed her eyes, whispering a prayer she had not spoken in years. The child clutched her arm. "Mother, will he live?" The mother's voice cracked. "I do not know." But in her heart she felt something else, guilt. She had never told Cain the truth. He thought he was only saving 2 refugees. He did not know he was protecting the galaxy's greatest secret. Her hands clenched into fists. She had promised herself never to trust anyone again. But Cain had changed everything. He deserved the truth. She looked into the fire, her voice low but firm. "If he lives, I will tell him. He must know what she truly is." The battle raged on. Cain stood in the ruins of his outpost, surrounded by broken machines and burning metal. He was bloodied, bruised, but unbroken. Yet above, the black ship glowed with power. More enforcers were coming. Cain knew he could not hold forever. He whispered under his breath, his voice like a vow. "Run, little star, live, that's all that matters." And as the night stretched on, 2 truths burned brighter than the fire. The mother had kept her secret for years. But now, Cain was part of it, and the law would stop at nothing to take the child. Snow whipped across the frozen hills, sharp as knives in the wind. The alien mother ran, clutching her daughter's hand. Her feet sank deep into the ice, her lungs burned with every breath, but she did not stop. Behind them, the night glowed red. Explosions lit the horizon where the outpost stood. The sound of battle rolled through the storm like thunder. Cain was still fighting. The child stumbled, her small legs weak. "Mother, wait," she cried. The mother pulled her forward. "No stopping, not now. We must keep moving." But the girl looked back, tears streaking her face. "He's still there. He's fighting for us." The mother's heart twisted. She wanted to stop, to run back, to fight beside him. But Cain had given them this chance. If they wasted it, his sacrifice would mean nothing. "Listen to me," she said, kneeling for a moment to hold her daughter's face. "We will see him again, but only if we survive. Do you understand?" The girl's lips trembled. At last she nodded. Far behind them, Cain's outpost was in ruins. Metal walls collapsed, fire roared, and smoke rose into the frozen sky. The enforcers kept coming, endless waves of black armor. Cain was a shadow in the flames, his rifle glowing red-hot from constant fire. His body bled, his armor shattered, but he still moved with deadly purpose. He knew he could not escape, but if he could buy them more time, if he could slow the enforcers' advance, then maybe the mother and child would reach safety. His voice was a low growl as he reloaded. Not today. He pressed another detonator. Mines buried under the snow erupted, throwing soldiers into the air. The ground shook, the storm howled, and Cain stood unbroken in the center of destruction. The mother and daughter reached the edge of a canyon. Black stone walls stretched high on either side, with a narrow path winding through. The mother pulled her child into the shadows of the canyon wall, breathing hard. For a moment, silence pressed around them. Then came the sound. Engines. The mother's blood froze. She looked up. In the sky above, smaller ships broke away from the main vessel, scout craft. Their red searchlights cut through the snow, scanning the ground like predators hunting prey. The child whimpered. "They're coming." The mother pulled her close, whispering, "Stay quiet. Do not move." They pressed deeper into the canyon as the lights swept closer. Back at the battlefield, Cain heard the ships launch. His jaw tightened. He knew what that meant. They weren't only after him. The hunt had already begun. He pressed his hand against a wound on his side, blood seeping through his fingers. His vision blurred, but his will burned stronger. He whispered to himself, almost like a prayer. "Keep running, little star. Don't let them catch you." He lifted his rifle again, firing at the enforcers who still advanced. Each shot echoed with rage and defiance. He would not let them pass easily. In the canyon, the mother guided her daughter along the narrow path. The red lights swept closer, beams of death searching every crack and shadow. Suddenly, a rock shifted under the child's foot. It tumbled down the canyon, clattering loudly against the stone. The lights turned instantly. Engines roared as one of the scout ships veered toward them. The mother grabbed her daughter, heart racing. "Run!" They sprinted down the canyon as the ship's lights blazed behind them. A sharp beam fired, cutting through the stone wall and showering them with sparks. The girl screamed, stumbling. The mother dragged her up, breath ragged. "Don't stop!" The ship swooped lower, weapons charging. Just as it was about to fire again, the canyon shook. An explosion lit the sky. The scout ship spun out of control, crashing into the canyon wall. The mother froze, eyes wide. What? High above, far in the distance, a flash of light flickered. It was the outpost, Kane's last mines detonating. Even dying, he had bought them another chance. The child cried out, tears mixing with the snow. He saved us again. The mother pulled her close, heartbreaking. She whispered, he is still fighting for us, so we must live. But the danger was not over. 2 more scout ships turned their beams toward the canyon. Their engines screamed as they swooped down, cutting off the path ahead. The mother's breath caught. They were trapped. She pushed her daughter behind a rock and pulled out the small device Kane had given her. She had not used it yet. Her hand shook as she pressed the button. The device hummed, creating a faint distortion in the air. A shimmer spread around them like a veil. The girl gasped. What is it? The mother whispered. A cloak. It will hide us for a moment. The scout ship swept past, their beams missing the pair by inches. The shimmer flickered, then faded. The mother's heart pounded. She knew the device would not last long. Kane had given it to them as a final hope. She looked at her daughter, voice fierce and trembling. We must keep running. No matter what happens, you must not stop. The child nodded, wiping her tears together. They pressed deeper into the canyon, shadows swallowing them. Far behind, in the ruins of the outpost, Kane fell to one knee. His rifle was empty. His body was broken. Enforcers circled, weapons raised. But in his heart there was no regret. He had given them time. He had given them hope. He closed his eyes for only a moment, whispering the words again. Run, little star. Then he stood one last time, ready to face the storm. The canyon stretched for miles, narrow and winding, its walls rising like prison bars. The alien mother held her daughter's hand tightly as they pushed through the snow. Their breaths ragged, their bodies weak. Every step felt heavier, but they did not stop. Behind them, the sky glowed with fire. Kane's outpost was gone, reduced to ash and smoke. The enforcers were still out there, searching, hunting, but for now, distance and darkness gave the two a fragile chance. The child looked back one last time, tears streaking her face. Mother, he's gone. The mother's throat tightened. Her heart screamed to deny it, to run back to see for herself. But deep down she knew the truth. Kane had stood against an army so they could escape. His choice was final. His fate was sealed. She knelt, pulling her daughter into her arms. Listen to me, my star. We live because of him. Never forget that. The girl's small voice cracked. But I don't want to live without him. The mother kissed her forehead, holding her close. Then live for him. Far behind, in the ruins, Kane's story ended. His body lay among the broken steel, the flames casting shadows across his face. Around him were the remains of the enforcers he had defeated. Even in death, he looked unbroken. His eyes were closed, his expression calm as if he had found peace. The enforcers stood over him, their captain silent. For a long moment, no one spoke. They had expected fear, begging surrender. Instead, they had found defiance until the very end. One soldier whispered, almost in awe, "This is why humans are feared." The captain said nothing. He simply turned away. But in his silence was something unspoken, respect for the man who had fought alone against the law itself. Days passed. The mother and daughter moved through the frozen world, hiding in caves, drinking melted snow, living on scraps. The galaxy's shadow still hunted them, but Kane's sacrifice had bought them more time. At night, when the child could not sleep, she whispered to the stars, "Kane, I miss you. I will be strong, like you said. I will run. I will live." The mother listened, her heart aching. She remembered Kane's last words. The way he had stood against death itself. A human she had once feared had become their protector, their savior. In time, whispers spread across the colony. Stories of the human soldier who had defied the enforcers. They say he fought an army alone. They say he gave his life for a mother and child. They say he broke the law for compassion. The tale grew with each telling. Some spoke with fear, others with awe. But no matter the version, one truth remained. Kane had become a legend. Among the oppressed, his story was a spark. If one man could stand against the law, perhaps others could too. One night, as the mother and daughter hid in the mountains, the girl asked softly, "Mother, will they always chase us?" The mother looked at her, at the glow in her daughter's eyes, the light that made her so rare, so dangerous, and so precious. Yes, she whispered. As long as they fear what you are, they will never stop. The girl's small hands clenched into fists. Then one day I will stop them. For Cain. The mother's eyes filled with tears. She hugged her daughter tightly. In that moment she knew the human sacrifice had not been in vain. He had not only saved their lives, he had planted a fire inside the child, a fire that no law could ever extinguish. Years later, long after the frozen colony was forgotten, a new name echoed across the stars. The child had grown. She carried her gift with pride, using it to heal, to rebuild, to bring hope where none had been. And everywhere she went, she carried Cain's blanket, worn but unbroken, a symbol of the night one human chose compassion over fear. When people asked her why she fought, why she risked everything against the law, she would answer with the same words he had spoken. Better to die with honor than watch a child sold for warmth. And when she lifted her eyes to the stars, she whispered softly, I'm still running, Cain, but one day, I'll make them stop. The galaxy had forgotten many names, many stories, but the legend of Cain, the human who broke the law for a child not his own, lived on. It lived in the whispers of rebels. It lived in the hearts of the oppressed. It lived in the fire of a girl who carried his legacy. And though Cain was gone, his choice that night had changed everything. Because sometimes, one human was enough to remind the galaxy what it meant to fight for hope.